Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Ask Coach Marie. I'm Marie O'Neill, founder of Padma Life Coaching, and your host on this series. This is the place where you ask a question, and I give my unique opinion as a life renewal coach, astrologer, and past life regression facilitator. Please know that I am not a therapist, and I will never tell you what you must do. Each week on Friday, a new video is released with me answering two questions from the viewers. I also talk about various other life renewal topics. So let's go ahead and get going with the questions from this week. Let me pull them up here. The first question comes from Ariel, who is in Pocatello, Idaho. She says, I'm having a hard time dealing with the loss of my best friend who died last year in a freak accident. What can I do to get over this pain? This is an understandable question, Ariel, and my deepest sympathy on the loss of your best friend. It is, suffering a loss, whether it's a best friend, a spouse, a child, a parent, someone that you love and care about, it deeply changes who you are. And the pain can take a long time to subside. The first thing is you want to, of course, give yourself plenty of time and not set a time limit on how long it should take you to, quote, get over the pain. I say quote because with some pain, you never really get over it. What happens is you learn to move on, you learn to deal with the pain, and it's just there, but you don't think about it all the time. But when you do think about it, sometimes you get a pang of pain with the memory of the person. You know, you don't want to rush anything because there may be aspects of this loss that you're, of course, still grappling with, and you need to work through it. You do need to be patient with yourself. One of the things that I have experienced and like to mention to you and anyone else who is listening to this video is that over time, what we want to do with pain of this kind is focus on the positive relationship that you had with the person. There is always going to be a tinge of sadness because the person isn't there. That doesn't mean that you have to focus on that sadness all the time. You can look at, as I said, the relationship that you had and focus on the positive relationship, the conversations that you had. Remember, it's really true that the person does live on, even when you or anyone else thinks about them or talks about them. You keep their memory alive. When an individual is on the other side, and meaning they've crossed over, they've died, a lot of times they will hang around to support you, to help you deal with their loss, or not necessarily get over the loss, but help you cope with the loss. The person who has crossed over is usually happy once they settle into being on the other side because they're met by loved ones, family members from the incarnation that they just left, and also other incarnations. Once they go through an acclimation period on the other side, a lot of times they're just fine. And they have usually accomplished the goal that they came here to the earth plane to accomplish. Which brings me to another point about accidents or the way a person crosses. A lot of times it's the way that person's higher mind or soul has chosen to exit this incarnation. It's usually already determined how the person is going to cross before they incarnate here. They've actually decided how they want to leave. And, that can be really difficult for the people that they leave behind because, you're left with trying to figure out why. Why did it have to be this way? And I am here to tell you that it's, as I said, it's already determined how the person is going to cross. And you want to just help them to be able to move on. So even with the pain, which it may subside over time, but I am not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to completely go away because a lot of times it doesn't. There's, just like I said, a little bit of pain when you think about a person even decades later because you miss them in the physical. Remember, we're all attached to the people we love, whether they're on the other side or whether they're here. We love them. We want them to be safe. We want to care for them, and we want them here in the physical. And when they're no longer here, we are going through a separation meltdown, really, is what it is. So, anyway, I hope that helps you a little bit. Please be kind and gentle with yourself and do your best to, talk to your best friend. She can hear you. She can hear your whatever your thoughts are. You don't even have to talk out loud. You can ask her to help you to deal with her crossing, and she will do that for you. You can also reach out to your spirit guides and ask them for help, and they will help too. So I hope that helps a bit. And please write me, email me, let me know how you are doing. The topic that we're going to talk about today is love, which in our previous conversation just a few minutes ago with Ariel and the loss of her best friend, she's suffering because, of course, she loved her friend. And when we're talking about love, there's different types of love. When we're talking about human love, we are talking about how we feel, of course, about a human, an individual. Are we feeling attached to that person? Do we feel camaraderie with that person? Do we feel intimate with that person? All of this can be some symptoms or signs of love, which is absolutely wonderful. The issue with human love is sometimes we fall out of love. And, and then you wonder, oh my goodness, did I really love that person? How could I fall out of love? Well, it does happen. And the thing is, the purpose of love is to help us to understand ultimate love. And when I say ultimate love, I mean universal love, because we are completely loved by the divine, by the all, the everything, the God, or whatever name you use for um, the universal intelligence. It is nothing but love. That particular love, we feel that love through loving someone here who is in the physical form. And because a lot of times we're not able to actually feel the universal love in its entirety. We feel it, or we can feel it, but to actually feel it in its entirety, um, I believe can cause us, some major issues internally with our system, because that energy is quite powerful. And I don't believe that we have the system to deal with it. Love is, everything out here ultimately is created for us to learn about love and to learn to love ourselves and to see ourselves as love. Now, that doesn't mean that if someone is in your life who you love, that you need to stay with that person not if they are not respecting you or honoring you or treating you the way that you need to be treated. Human love is typically conditional, and we have to start looking at love a little bit differently, and and digging deep within ourselves to find out what the attributes of love are for each of us, and and how experiencing this love can help us to evolve. Because with love, my goodness, it does help us to evolve our consciousness. So anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about love, since we're in that season of love. And yeah, let me know what you think about it and what your views on love are. I'd love to hear from you. Our next question comes from Jacqueline, who is in New York. Jacqueline says, I'm curious to learn how astrology works. I read my horoscope in magazines every month, but this is as far as I've gone with it. Good. Thank you for that question, Jacqueline. Sun sign horoscope or sun sign astrology is what you're referring to when you are reading it in the magazine. And that is a wonderful entree into astrology. It's a beginning point that can lead you deeper into this particular science and art, because it's both, in my opinion. With the sun sign, what you're reading in your horoscope, it's taking the sign that you were born under and placing it on the eastern horizon. It's like taking the sky and having that particular constellation rise on the eastern horizon on a particular day in the month. And then the rest of the sky, of course, has to move. And so it's reading the different planets in particular positions on horoscope wheel based on your sun sign being on the eastern horizon. With astrology, what we're really doing is looking at the relationship between the different planets in constellations, in the say 2 or 3 planets together. What is their relationship? Are they in easy flowing relationship? Is it a hard relationship? Is it something that they're going to have to work on? What are the attributes of the sign and of the planets and how they're working together? There is so much involved in astrology. And even when you've studied for decades, as I have, there is always something new to learn about it. It is looking at the sun in particular, which is your ego, your will, your drive. It's looking at your moon, which is your emotional body and your biological karma. It's looking at your ascendant, which is your, the clothes that you wear when you go out into the world. It's how you are expressing yourself. There are of course 12 houses, which I don't necessarily want to get into here. Needless to say, there is a lot to astrology, and basically what it's doing is looking at the sky at any moment and reading the relationship between the different planets in the sky. And it's also looking at the snapshot of the sky at the moment of your birth and reading how the relationships between the planets at the moment of your birth, how they work together. You can take your birth chart, which is the snapshot of the sky at the moment of your birth, and compare it to what's going on right now, taking a snapshot of the sky now and comparing the two. For example, if you're born with, say, Saturn in Pisces, which is where Saturn is now. Saturn is in the constellation of Pisces. Well, if you are looking at the sky now, you are probably going through or have gone through what we call a Saturn return, meaning Saturn has gone around all the constellations and come back to the point it was in at the time of your birth. That means it's report card time. How have you done the past 30 years? Because it takes 30 years or 29, 30, 20, not 29 years for Saturn to get back to the position it was in the sky. If you would like to learn more about how astrology works, there's plenty of information out here on the web. There's plenty of classes. You can always contact me and I can definitely give you more information. But this is just a really brief overview of how it works. I hope that answers your question for you, and thank you for asking it. Now, if you would like to learn more about me, you are welcome to peruse my website, padmalifecoaching.com. You can read my book, which can be found on any of the online bookstores, and the Lotus Opened, a memoir. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That really does help me with the algorithms. If you have questions that you would like me to answer for you, please send them to padmacoach@icloud.com. All of that information is below in the description. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. And please be sure to reach out if you have questions, if you'd like to work with me, or if you'd just like to say hi. I'd love to hear from you. I'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye.